Frozen Hell, written by John W. Campbell, Jr., narrated by Yuri Lowenthal. Preface, Alec Nevala-Lee. The greatest science fiction horror story of all time opens with the accidental discovery of a relic that has gone undisturbed for ages. Frozen Hell was unearthed in much the same way, although its reappearance was somewhat less dramatic. Instead of the Antarctic ice, it resided in an off-site storage facility used by Houghton Library at Harvard, and it wasn't detected through a magnetic anomaly, but through a line in a letter in an obscure catalog entry. It went overlooked for 6 decades, rather than 20 million years, which was still long enough for it to be forgotten. And instead of an extraterrestrial spacecraft, it lay within a carton of a few dozen manila folders, labeled lightly in pencil, that contained the bulk of the fiction of John W. Campbell, Jr. and Don A. Stewart, who somehow were the same man. When you glance through the brown typewriter carbons inside the box, you find many titles that only the most dedicated science fiction fan would recognize. Among the manuscripts are the drafts of the super science sagas, such as Uncertainty and The Mightiest Machine, that Campbell cranked out in the 30s under his own name, as well as other works, notably the novel The Moon is Hell, that wouldn't appear in print until much later. There are also the vastly superior stories that he wrote as Don A. Stewart, including early versions of Night, Dead Knowledge, and Forgetfulness, and a few efforts: The Bridge of One Crossing, The Gods Laugh Twice, Silence, that he never published at all. One precious folder holds a copy of Beyond the Door, the only known work of fiction by his remarkable wife, Donia. But 2 folders, labeled Frozen Hell and Pandora, stand out from the rest. One contains the first 20 pages of a story in clean typescript, a fair copy that was presumably prepared by Donia, who was a better typist than her husband. The other holds 112 pages of a complete rough draft, with typographical errors and misspellings that suggest it was typed by Campbell, along with numerous corrections in the author's hand. A cover page bears the alternative titles Frozen Hell or Pandora, one typewritten, the other written in small capitals, and a note indicates that the manuscript was meant for Argosy, the leading pulp magazine of its era. The pages that follow correspond to no published work, although some readers might recognize the character named Macready, as well as the setting on an icy plateau in Antarctica. Reading further, they might start to suspect the truth, especially after encountering the buried spaceship with its horrifying passenger inside. After about 40 pages, as familiar lines appear...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?